to this episode of People Actually. Today's a super fun one. We have Katy here joining us. As all of us know that people are not linear, so hiring shouldn't be either. Without further ado, I'd love to turn to Katy and do a quick intro.
Hey everybody, I'm Katy Flatau. I am the VP of Talent Attraction at JumpCloud, which is very much an IT company building an IT product for IT people. So it is just tech all day.
Tech all day.
All day.
Oh my God, Katy. I'm so excited to have you here because before we get into hiring and best practice, I heard you're an executive coach. Coach me, yes. Coach us. What do you coach on?
So when I spent most of my time doing executive coaching, I helped mid-career professionals change fields. So I helped somebody literally go from selling the casing on sausage to working for one of the largest fundraising centers in Chicago.
Wow.
So working for the Children's Hospital there.
Wow.
So we did a full career pivot.
That's amazing.
And you never think that you're going to start here and end up here.
Was it about skill set development? Was it about your perception, mindset shift? Like, wow.
It was a lot. There was a lot of mindset shift. There was a lot of connecting with the right people. And there was also a lot, kind of in the interim of both of those things in talking about what was really motivating, right? When you make a career pivot that is that big, you really have to think about, do you really want this at this end, right? You have to ask all the questions as you go through, because a lot of people think that they want to go from here to here, right? It's why almost, every person who graduates from college wants to get into marketing, right? How many people do you know that are like, oh, I'm going to change jobs. I think I'll get into marketing, right? And then you talk to the people in marketing or nonprofit. Nonprofit's another big one, but there's so many versions of nonprofit in the world. Right? How do you pick the one that you're really excited about, right? And conversely, moving from nonprofit into the for-profit sector is a big shift. You have to think about all the pieces that kind of factor into that as you go through. Nothing is as simple as like, oh yeah, I'm going to go shift this and do the thing that I love. Nonprofit still has politics, right? There's still all the things that you have to think about where, it's pay ranges and are you happy and are you showing up and doing the thing that matters to you? And what, there's still people dynamics and all those things. So,
So Katy, I'm sensing you're a people person and you're dynamic as heck. So how did you get into hiring? How did you become the head of hiring in a massive global tech company? Like, was it about you love people? Was it about the skill set assessment that caught your attention? Tell us a little about, and now executive coaching, how did you get to where you are?
Yeah, so it was definitely an evolution. So I spent the first 15 years of my career in media research, which was literally the only class I took in college where I said, you could not pay me enough to do this. Turns out, yes, you can pay me enough to do that for 15 years.
Take notes. Take notes.
So I said the word methodology, every 5 minutes for all of those 15 years. And it was very exciting. Methodology. Exactly. Yes. We've updated the methodology, changed the methodology, improved the methodology. Everything's going to make your life
better. Say that 10 more times.
Right? So after talking about methodology for that long, what I realized is that the thing that I loved about my job at that point was that I got to help all of these teeny tiny 1- and 2-person shops start their own businesses.
Wow.
Right? And I got to watch these people really embrace and be happy at work and really enjoy the thing that they did. And that was this little subculture of the job that I had, because I worked with, major advertisers and ad agencies and all of these things. And it was really interesting to kind of do my own due diligence on myself and say, what do I love about this? What is the most exciting part of my week, especially after you do something for 15 years, right? And you're like, okay, but why do I get up and why do I keep doing this? And I realized that was a huge part of it, is I was really empowering a specific group of people because, in reality, I was their biggest line item. So I got to be there at the very beginning of their business and watch them figure out how they were going to do it. And that to me was so exciting. Wow. So that was the fun part of going from that. I did a whole bunch of soul searching. Like, there was a lot of unpacking in 2009 on what I wanted to be and who I wanted to be and, what was going to make me happy in the world. And so I kind of dug into all of these things, and I went down the psychology path, and, I went down maybe I own my own business or I start this path. And what I realized is that I was really passionate about helping people be happy at work.
Wow.
Right? We spend 40% of our lives at work, right? It is too much time, right? And if you work in venture capital or anything like that, you spend even more of your time at work, right? So I went through that shift. I got into career coaching, did that for a few years full time. And then a friend of mine started a boutique HR company. And we were chatting one day, and we'd known each other for many years and through a few career iterations. And she said, I really need somebody who can interview a vice president without being afraid of them. And I was like, I mean, all I had done for years was talk to vice presidents of various things and was like, sure. And I had just decided I was moving to Colorado and was, shifting some things. And so she said, hey, come do this. We took that very small company of 4 people working with a lot of very small businesses and scaled it to 25 people in a year.
Wow.
And started working with some of the major venture capital firms in the Bay.
That's incredible.
And it was just an amazing experience. And that was the moment where I really got the intersection between what I had been doing in sales and account management, what I had been doing in career coaching, and it all kind of came together into recruitment. And I'm like, oh, this is such an awesome intersection.
Just sitting this close to you, I'm feeling all the energy. I feel like if I were to sum up, I feel like your magic, your superpowers, you help people believe in themselves.
And be excited about what they're going to do every day.
That's awesome.
Right?
And that's what, at the end of what talent is all about.
It is. Because that is really, when you're doing talent acquisition, it's not just about, I found a resume and this resume is going to, fit in this box over here.
Yeah.
You found a person.
Yeah.
And every single person, especially when you are scaling companies, makes an impact on your business.
Oof.
Right? You mentioned being an entrepreneur. You mentioned starting different companies, and the first 10 people you hire, you said one of them's a recruiter.
Absolutely. Right? Matt Glickman, one of my first hires.
So when you do that, you need somebody who can tell the story of the business.
Yeah.
You need somebody who can get other people excited about what they're going to do. And you need somebody who can also understand, this is why this person is going to make the right impact at this company at this time. And if you bring all that magic together, you have a happy employee, you have a company that's scaling, and you have just wonderful things happening.
That's why recruiters and talent acquisition always have a place.
Exactly.
Absolutely. One thing that you said also really resonated with me is, having started businesses myself, I didn't always believe in myself. There are moments of doubt. So tell us a little bit about your view as a career executive coach to how that impacts your hiring philosophy. When you're interviewing that VP, or when you bring, maybe when JumpCloud's early in its phase to, as the company matures to its massive global operations, what are your hiring philosophies? What do you look for?
Absolutely. So when I got to JumpCloud, we were 199 people just in Colorado.
Wow. I mean, that's,
So we had also just gone fully remote because COVID had just happened.
What was COVID again? I'm kidding.
Exactly. Remember that thing where none of us left the house for a while?
Minor detail.
Best thing to do during that time period was scaling some kind of company. So to me, when you're doing a recruiter screen at any stage of that, it's figuring out, do they want to solve the problem that you have, right? And do you have the problem that's going to get them excited, right? Software engineers don't typically switch jobs because they're like, oh, they're going to pay me another 20 grand more. They switch jobs because they want to solve your problem, right? They want to work on the thing that you're working on. And that's what gets them excited. And you have to be able to tell that story and figure out, like, does their story match your story? And that's how you get to having the right person in the right seat.
Amazing. So you're a natural storyteller. When you're talking about, I mean, by the way, scaling from 200 to 1,000, you say 17 countries?
18.
18 countries. Yep. I mean, that's massive. And then what was it like? Because I'm sure there's different culture, like as you expand internationally. Tell us a little bit more how you help your team, like kind of navigate, because you seem so people first. And being a natural storyteller, what has that changed as you expanded into this massive global operation?
Yeah, as you continue to shift and as you go into new places. So sometimes it would be like, hey, we're acquiring a company in Turkey. We need to learn what the engineering landscape looks like in Turkey. And, I didn't get to hire new talent every time we did that, right? So I have an amazing team in-house at JumpCloud. We do all of our recruiting in-house.
That's amazing, by the way. I think that's absolutely a secret weapon for every company.
Absolutely. Yeah. It has made a huge difference that we are not paying someone who's not invested in our success to help us figure it out. So I have an amazing team of recruiters who tells the story, who understands from their hiring teams, because they know them, they built them, right? They know those teams. Yeah. They know how to talk about the problems they're solving. They know how to talk about what's important. And then for them, it's, as we go into a new country, we start talking about that. It's learning kind of the nuances, right? What do people want to talk about? What's important to them there? What conversations are we going to need to have? How is it different? Going into Mexico versus going into Brazil. Going into Turkey versus going into Lebanon, right? Different groups of people, different conversations, and figuring out how to navigate that, right? What's important, what benefits are important. When we went into Mexico, the market was massively competitive from a benefits perspective. So people would have this laundry list of things that they were looking for from a new company. We were brand new. We didn't know. right? So we're bringing that back and talking to our HR team, and we're like, hey, we're sharing the information that's coming through. So going into a new country and being really open to the conversation sounding different was important.
Got it.
Right? A lot of times when you interview in the US, people just want to jump right in.
Yeah.
Right? They just want to tell you about what they've done and where they've been and how it's going to work. You know, when you go into a market like Canada, right? You have to ask a lot more proactive questions because that market just by default, you know, they communicate a little bit differently. So you have to ask really intentional questions.
Amazing.
Whereas there's other countries you go into, you don't have to ask any questions. They'll tell you everything.
Yeah.
So, but learning some of those nuances is really important, and being able to say, yes, we understand how the conversation is going to look different. When is somebody interested in talking about compensation, right? Because we try to have, to me, this is one of the most important things you can do as a recruiter. Have the conversation early and often, right? Okay. Talk about it on the first call.
First call, talking about comp. Wow,
talk
okay.
about comp,
I think
right?
that's,
because you never want to take somebody down a path, and you certainly don't want to sell somebody their dream job. And then find out 4 interviews in that you're $100,000 off.
All right, hot take.
Right? Like, I mean, I've had that experience with so many people where either I'm heartbroken or they're heartbroken as we go through and do that. You don't want that to be the case, because, you know, this is people's lives and jobs.
Totally. Absolutely.
And that's probably one of my foundational hiring philosophies. It's like, this is people's lives and jobs. This is a really important decision that they're going to make, and they're not going to make it 1,000 times, right? Most people switch jobs, 10 times?
In their lifetime?
In their lifetime?
Which is a lot, but
which is still a lot. Right? But most people aren't waking up every other week and going, how is this new benefits package going to impact me? How is this new comp strategy? How is this new manager going to change my world? Right? Just like when you move houses. Right? It's a big decision.
It's crazy to think about 10 times, because like I'm thinking about, like, I was in my last 15 years, but now it's like 2 to 3 years. You're like, let's go.
You're like, okay, I know how this works. I've done this before.
Different time. Yeah. So I mean, amazing. You talked about so many different, it's like, oh my God, I'm learning so much, Katy. During that explosive growth, coming out of pandemic, expanding to 18 countries, when you're hiring remote, what are some of the things that you look beyond the resume? Like, what are some of the things that you like, hey, these are the things that we really care about, both for you as a seasoned executive or for JumpCloud that's important to the company?
Yeah, when I'm talking to somebody, or when my team is talking to somebody, we want to know about what motivates them, right? We also want to see how they show up during the interview process. It's really important to us how our hiring teams show up during the interview process, because to me, every single interaction you have with the company should be the company showing you who they are. Right?
And that's not whether or not they put on a button shirt, right? Button down shirt, they do their hair.
You really hope that that's not the thing that you have to measure on.
We'd be surprised, right?
There, I feel like there was a pajama interview phase that a lot of people went through. So, I don't want to call it my software engineers in particular, but I do feel like there was a little bit of jams going on for a period of time. So, you know, how they show up, how people communicate. JumpCloud is very videos on. We are a little bit meeting forward because we are globally remote, right? There's a lot of opportunity for miscommunication. We very much operate as an entire team, right? It's not outsourced. We are all JumpCloudians working together, right? So, you know, I usually start my day having meetings with people in a couple different countries, and it's as important to me to have a great conversation with them as it is when I have an afternoon meeting with somebody who's just one time zone over, right? So, you know, we look for that. We look for people who are comfortable with that concept and are comfortable with the global nature of the role, right? So there's that conversation. There's people who show up and are, you know, excited to be there and excited and comfortable being remote. Because remote isn't comfortable for everybody. So you want people who want to do that. And then the phase that we are at is very much the builder phase.
That's exciting.
Not the maintainer phase, right? So if your favorite thing about your job is you come in and do exactly the same thing every day, this is not going to make you happy. Right? You've been in builder mode before, right? It's totally different than
people who are comfortable with ambiguity and learning, and every day might change.
Yep, exactly. And the process might exist, but it might be bad. And you might have to come in and fix it. And you have to be comfortable with fixing that and running it while you're fixing it. We're still in the phase where we use the phrase, you know, we're building the plane while we're flying it a lot. So, which I feel like every startup goes through that stage.
What's your, I mean, oh my God, there's so much to ask you. I'm pretty sure we're going to just go on forever. What's the strategy and vision you've set up for your team? Because there's really that explosive growth component, but then you can sacrifice quality. At the same time, you're hiring in 18 countries. Like you are busy. Like you are busy, your team's really busy. What's the overarching strategy? What's your vision for the team?
So two of the most important things I feel like that we set up as we scaled were global consistency.
Global consistency.
Right.
Okay.
So if we are hiring for the same role in Mexico and India and the US and Brazil and the UK.
Oh, that's hard to do. That's hard to do. Wow.
And it happens more than you would think. If we're hiring for that same role, the interview process should look the same, right? And we should be looking at who's in that interview process and are we measuring for the same level of quality in every single moment. I never want anyone to be able to say, oh, I went through a much easier interview process than you did because I was in the UK and my interview process was easier than yours was when we hired for this role in Turkey. So global consistency also helps the hiring teams feel like they are all having the same experience too, and that the candidates that they are all getting are the same, right? Like we're all having the same quality metrics.
So it's really having the preparation, making sure.
Exactly. So you've got the same interview loops, the same assignments, the same, everybody's working off the same concept. You're prepping the same role because it's the same role. It's the same requirements. It's the same skill sets, right? It shouldn't be different.
Yeah.
You shouldn't be looking for something different as you do this. Are there regional nuances? Absolutely. Your candidates might look slightly different from each other, but you should always be going for that global consistency.
Yeah.
The other thing that I felt like has made us really successful is the recruiters are flexible, right? So we took out that concept that I am only a tech recruiter who only hires tech talent in one market, right? Because there could be a day where I need to go hire 50 engineers in Turkey.
Yeah.
And if this person only hires this kind of person in this country and isn't comfortable expanding beyond that, it really is limiting to the team. It means that we can't flex to what the organization needs. And being able to flex to what the organization needs in a scaling company is really important.
Yeah.
Right? If you're only building one thing in one country, that's one thing. But if you're having to flex to that, having recruiters whose mindset is, I can take anything, and giving them the opportunity to do that, I feel like is really key to being successful.
Yeah.
Right? If you put people in tiny boxes, they'll stay in tiny boxes. You tell them the box doesn't exist and they're going to get the opportunity to work on multiple different things, you can experiment with it as it goes. Yeah. And I'm not saying there aren't people who are amazing tech recruiters who aren't as good at, running a go-to-market search.
Yeah, absolutely.
Or my go-to-market, a go-to-market person isn't doing the same thing.
But they are fundamentally different, though.
Yeah, they are fundamentally different, but it's really cool.
Different conversations.
Exactly. To give people the opportunity to do some of those different things.
Katie, before we talk about the future, such as AI, I want to get to know more about you and your leadership philosophy. Yeah. One last question to wrap up this session is, gosh, you guys are going through this amazing growth journey, and thanks to your leadership and your team, what do you love most about your job right now?
What I love most is that there is always something different, right? So
you like a challenge, don't you?
I do like a challenge. Yeah. I am not good at comfort zone. Yeah. Comfort zone's not my sweet spot, where it's like, oh, everything's amazing and it's totally fun. I'm better at okay, here's the new challenge coming, and here's how we plan for it, and here's how we align to it. So I like that aspect of my job, right? Not everybody's favorite thing, but I get really excited when it's like, okay,
that's
we're
awesome.
Going to pivot to this new thing. How do we figure out how to do this better?
Yeah.
Right?
Cool. So talking about new thing, there's this thing that everyone's talking about these days called AI. Have you heard of it?
I'm not sure. Could you elaborate a little bit?
Yeah, you generally put that on a piece of steak. It's a really tasting sauce. Yeah,
I am familiar with that. I do feel like it makes a steak.
Yeah. So anyway, on to AI. I mean, obviously the talent and acquisition space, there's a lot of opportunity. We have a lot of capabilities around AI companions and to help you interview, screen faster. How have you and your team sort of adapted or just become more comfortable in the age of AI? Yeah,
so one of the things we really started with was looking at AI from a 360-degree perspective, not just looking at AI as how do we, do something faster, but also how is AI impacting us as recruiters? So where is AI causing problems? Where do we need to be defending against AI? And also where can we use AI opportunistically? Where is it in a tool? Where is it something we need to build? So looking at it from all those different angles and not just trying to put it in one bucket. That really opened up how my team thought about it, right? Because my challenge to them is you guys should be telling me how we do some of these things differently, right? Like I want you to look at every process we have, and if we built it today, not even rebuilt it, if we built it today, how would we do it differently? Yeah. And so we're trying to get to that place where we're thinking a little bit more AI native than thinking, how do we shoehorn this in.
Yeah, for the sake of using AI. Right?
Exactly,
Yeah,
just for the sake of saying like, hey,
we're using AI.
We're using AI, right? Not that I ever, have to do any of those things.
Right.
But no,
for sure.
AI initiatives we had an AI hackathon last year that was amazing.
No way, that's awesome.
So it was super cool to just focus on that. And we did it company-wide, not just engineering. So people came in with all sorts of different ideas. And it was really a great accelerator to get a lot of people comfortable with AI because they could also go partner with an engineer and talk about like, hey, I think this is a great idea.
Yeah.
How do we do this? So we're building a few things internally, like how do we dive in further on skills-based hiring? How do we use some of those tools to generate the right job descriptions, to generate interview kits and interview kickoffs, right? No hiring manager ever has enough time. Right? I can stop the sentence.
That's like a 1 hour, that's like, for all of our audience, I feel like that's like a 5 hour topic, maybe after 5 drinks, maybe.
Exactly. Yes. Hiring managers.
Please complete your hiring assessment after an interview.
Exactly.
Like, on average, before, we're going to completely go off track, but how many times do you have to typically track down a hiring manager to get them to finish their interview feedback?
My hiring managers are all wonderful and always get their interview feedback in within 48 hours of the interview.
Absolutely.
Right, guys? Yeah. So we try to make it as straightforward for them as possible.
Yeah.
Right. And I have great leaders who also drive that down from their perspective as well, right? We want to keep the process going.
Yeah.
We don't want interviews because, recency bias is real.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? If you're interviewing 10 people this week.
Yeah. And we also have short-term memories more than we would like to admit.
Yes. But if you start interviewing on Monday, by Friday, you're like, yeah, I talked to that great person.
Yeah. Was it
Tuesday? Their name was Grace? Maybe? Right?
It was Jillian.
It was absolutely Katy. Jillian you talked to on Tuesday afternoon, and based on your notes, you didn't love her. So we're really excited to roll out the interview intelligence in Pillar.
Yeah.
So we rolled that out about a week ago.
Yeah.
No one has lit me on fire for it yet. Everyone seems to be doing well, but they were very excited to get transcription and recording.
Yes.
And then the interview coaching that goes with that rolled out. So very excited to have that in. Our biggest battle with that, and not even battle, was just making sure we were approaching it correctly from a legal requirements perspective.
Yes, absolutely. And we're very intentional about that. I know Pepsi and Red Bull has been really successful with us. And then another thing that I love what you said about what you're trying to do with your team, which is super intentional in terms of the AI application. Yeah. Well, I employ our philosophies also not building AI for the sake of AI. It's truly about like, what can we build in AI to help your team get to dinner an hour or 2 hours early, so they can be much more strategic in finding the right talent versus just going through and like type up their interview notes and all of that, chasing after the hiring manager. Not that they ever needed chasing. Our
hiring managers never need chasing.
That's right. That's
They're
right.
all wonderful.
So, it's from prior work experience.
Exactly. From other people I work with. Yes.
Cool. Couple back to like Katy and sort of tie back to your executive coaching, being a hiring expert. What are you most excited about in the world, like in the next couple of years? Or even start out with 2026. 2026. So many things are changing, really, just in terms of the talent market. There's just so much happening. So anything.
I feel like one of the really great opportunities that comes with AI tools and some of the different ways that you can evaluate people and bring things together is kind of this next step of being able to make sure that, especially like leadership teams, gel. Right? That's kind of what I'm seeing from this moment right now is how do you pull out the commonalities? How do you feed it with, assessments and with different things that'll be able to come back and say, yes, this is where you probably have gaps in this, or this is where your team is really going to come together. I was using the example of, we just hired a new CISO and he's fantastic. Yeah. He happened to work with our SDR leader a few years ago. Oh. Right? It was enough of a gap in their resumes and they were in totally different buckets as I was evaluating them. But it was really fun to have them come in and be like, oh, I'm really excited to work with you again as part of that. But things that'll help to point out at a much larger scale who you have coming in and coordinating across the organization. Yeah. So that's great. Some of those things I feel like we can start to get deeper into as we expand, not only the AI capabilities, but our software capabilities.
And during your time when you were helping other like venture firms hiring from like explosive growth in 1 year, 4 to 25 recruiters, right? What are some of the things that you see in terms of companies consistently hiring great talent versus companies that struggle?
I think it's getting really clear at the beginning. right? So to me, and when I talk to other people, and especially as I was getting deeper into the field, right, I got to have a lot of conversations with people about, you know, what makes the recruiting process go more smoothly. And as I've hired hiring managers, I've asked a lot of that question as well. And one of the things is getting really clear at the intake. The better your intake is, the better your first 10 candidates will be, the more effective your hiring process will be, and the more likely it is, one, to wrap up with a great candidate, but two, to wrap up with a great candidate in the time frame that you're looking for.
Katy, quick stats. How many intakes change from the first conversation to the job post? What do you think? They're always perfect.
It's the same answer to my hiring managers always get their feedback in 48 hours.
I mean, that's why it's so hard. Like, recruiters have the hardest job.
It's such a tough thing because you have to go back to someone and ask the question that you're uncomfortable with, right? Which is going back and saying, I feel like what I'm presenting to you, right? Which is my work and the thing that I'm putting my signature on. I feel like what I'm presenting is not what you're looking for. And so we have a policy at we have a policy at a couple different stages that if a role isn't filled by a certain date, we go back and re-intake it just as a matter of course, right? Because it's one thing to have somebody accept an offer and then not start or something like that. And,
which never happens.
Which also never happens in any market. But also, you know, if you're 60 days into a process or something like that and things just aren't gelling, you want to go back and have a demarcation line to say, we need to talk about this again.
Yes, absolutely.
Right? Because it clearly has changed. But also, if you present the first 10 candidates and you and your hiring manager are not on the same page, right? No matter how junior the recruiter, because to me this happens the most when you have either a very junior recruiter and a junior hiring manager, or a very junior recruiter who's afraid to fail, right? And to me, I would rather have you dive in after the first 10 candidates and say, I'm not getting this right. Tell me what I'm missing.
Yeah, it's about open communication, alignment, and address the process gap.
Don't make me guess.
Yes.
Right? Like, don't make me guess. If you're not comfortable with what I'm doing, let's fix it. Let's change it. And then really getting into, is the job description not right? Does the job description not match the need, not match the level, not match the budget, right? Ask all the questions. And figure out where the misalignment is. And if you're unicorn hunting, you're unicorn hunting. And you know that you need to bring your unicorn hunting tools on that search.
Yes.
Right? But if it is just truly what we're looking for is either a skill set that's not available with the other skill set you want, right? Because sometimes those things don't all exist together. Or we're looking for something that is a P2 and the job description is calling it a P4, right? Or vice versa. So asking all those questions to me is how you get into that space.
And unicorn hunting is possible, and the best recruiters do find them. And by the way, Katy, there's so many things you said. This is exactly the reason why we have people actually, because we know that recruiters oftentimes their jobs is hard, almost like sometimes they're on an island, and we want to tell their stories because everyone's busy and no one's fault, but just they don't have time to sit down and say, Katy, this is what I want. And by the way, people's mind changes, like requisition change, right? Requirement change. So
you talk to 10 candidates and suddenly you're like, no, wait, I'm actually now very clear that this is what I want and this is what I don't want. And asking that question and talking to your hiring manager and saying, is this still a deal breaker? When we started this role 3 weeks ago, this was a deal breaker. But I have seen you mention this in all of your feedback. And not this. What's true today?
Do you think how do you coach your recruiters? Because sometimes the hiring manager might not recognize that, and all of a sudden it might turn into slightly difficult conversation, right? Like talk us through that.
Because ideally you want to have that from a really positive perspective. And that to me is where things like Pillar, having interview intelligence, having great feedback notes. And we also have kind of a mandatory but really positive weekly cadence with every hiring manager. So every hiring manager has their own Slack channel for their role, right? Every hiring manager has a weekly check-in with their recruiter where they're catching up live, right? And all of that stuff is really important because if you're missing that kind of regular cadence, if all you're doing is checking in on Slack, you're missing a huge amount of context.
So communication.
So communication, but also being okay saying, hey, because to me this is a positive. This means I'm paying attention. Right? I noticed in your last 4 feedback forms that you called out this particular skill set, right? When we did the intake for the role, you said that was very much a nice to have and not a must have. Has that changed? Or how has that changed? Right? And asking that question, I think every hiring manager wants to know you're paying attention. Right? Which is why we have so many check-ins. Because the hiring manager who hasn't heard from their recruiter in the week just assumes they've done nothing, and nobody wants that.
So Katie's playbook, communication and methodology. Say that 10 times.
Methodology.
There you go.
Always.
All right, Katie, I feel like I can talk to you forever. We're going to end with 2 practical advice for the audience, and then a quick round of rapid fire questions to get to know you. What's one mind shift that you think it's really critical during a time like this that you advise to companies and recruiters?
So we're going through a phase where everybody's trying to figure out their people problems, right? How many people do we need? Where do we need people? What are all the different things? The thing that I keep coming back to is you have to really understand where the human element makes an impact on that job. Like, where is that the key component to what we're doing? Because and this comes back to the recruiting space itself, what I tell my recruiters every day is, I love that you have AI tools that get you a ton more information quickly. What I need from you is your evaluation of this candidate against this role, against this hiring team, against the goals of the organization. You are the person who knows the answer to that, not the AI.
Great advice. And then lastly, and ties back to Coach Katy, what's your advice to people who are thinking about switching career? And how do they, we all want your confidence. I'm just sitting in front, just looking at you, like, oh, I've got this. But what's some advice for folks to believe in themselves?
Yeah, absolutely. So the number one thing that I saw, in my 10 years of career coaching was that people always want to skip the research phase. They want an easy button.
Oh, I was not expecting that. Okay.
Everybody wants to say, this is why everybody's going into marketing, because they feel like it's the easy button.
It is a very
dynamic field.
It is, yeah, it's fun. Marketing by far fun.
Marketing. But I heard that answer so many times. So to me, really starting with kind of a green field, if you are not happy in the job that you have, you do not have to keep it forever, right? Especially if you look at it and you're like, I have another 20 to 25 years of work. That's too long to hate what you do.
Yeah.
That is too long to have the Sunday scaries or the Monday blues or whatever the thing is. Yeah. So go start working on it and start thinking about it. So people skip the phase where they actually dedicate some high quality time and energy to working on their career strategy. Everybody kind of wants to close their eyes and they just want something new to come happen to them.
Yes.
And generally that amazing new job that fulfills your dreams doesn't wander into your living room while you're watching Netflix. Right? So go find some people who want to have that conversation. Find people to be on your career team, right? Because you probably have people who cheer you on in your personal life and support you. Maybe if you're running marathons or something like that, you find a group of people who want to do those things. Find a group of people who are also trying to figure that out, or at least want to have conversations about it, and then give yourself bandwidth to go down a whole bunch of rabbit holes and find out what it looks like to, be a fundraiser at a nonprofit. Find a couple people who do that for a living. Odds are good your network has a ton of people with interesting jobs in it.
Right.
Right? Because people are always like, is there a list of all the jobs that exist somewhere? There probably is now.
Yeah.
But
right? Yeah.
I haven't found it yet. Yeah. But there are so many interesting jobs that will fulfill you in a different way. You just have to take some time to figure out what those might be.
Yeah.
So, and people want to skip that phase. So if you want to change your career, I am a huge fan. I did it at least twice. I am so happy that I did. I am so much more fulfilled now. And I love what I do. And I didn't hate what I did before.
And I feel like I can hear the joy in your voice too. Like you're passionate. And that was great because this was not rehearsed. And I really would have not get researchers because that seems like so foundational, but people just sort of skipped.
Because it's scary. Because you are probably going to find out that your quote unquote dream job that you've been holding in the back of your mind isn't something you actually want to do. Right? You're going to go poke holes in your theories but that is how you get to something you actually want to do. And once you identify that, you can strategically work your way into it.
Yeah.
Right? Start networking, start talking to people, go read 15 job descriptions on what that is. Yeah. Right? Think you want to be a project manager? Go read 15 project manager job descriptions and see if you like what they're talking about, right? There's 1,000 podcasts on careers and strategy and all of these things that didn't exist 10 years ago.
Including people actually. So,
where you can learn about how all these things work.
Yeah, so, amazing, Katy. All right, 5 quick rapid fire. Coffee or tea?
Coffee.
Coffee. Morning or night person?
Morning person for creativity.
Okay, what and night person for?
Night person for all the talking.
Love it. And favorite snack that you always have with you?
Oh, favorite snack that I always have with me. Usually cashews or a Kit Kat bar.
Okay, I'm
Yes.
gonna make sure we have something for you. What's your work anthem when you get on that stage and give a talk to thousands of people? What's playing in the background as you get on stage?
In the background? Oh, let's see. I told you I didn't know the answer to this. Let's go with Free Fallin' by Tom Petty.
Oh,
Yes.
love that song. Love that song.
We're all learning to fly.
Free fall into any future career that you might reimagine and reinvent yourself to.
We don't
Great.
know. Nobody knows what anything's going to look like 2 years from now. So
That's right. Yeah. AI
just
might
walk
be
towards it.
like, we might be too AI right now. No
We
one
may
knows.
have figured out how to get AI to do the dishes, but I actually need that part. Like
Yes.
dishes and laundry.
Yeah.
Let's focus on that.
That's right. That's right.
I can do all the other stuff.
For Sam Ullman from ChatGPT, please focus on doing dishes.
We focus on the real things we'd like AI
That's
to
right.
do.
That's right. Last question. What is your go-to interview question that you always ask?
I always like to give people the opportunity. So I have two. One, tell me your story, right? Very specifically phrased as your story, not just, tell me about your last 3 jobs. And then I always like to wrap an interview up, especially with an executive, and say, what is something that we should have talked about today, but we haven't touched on yet? Like, what did we miss? Because sometimes there is especially when you have 20 or 30 years of experience, there may be something that's super relevant to what we're talking about today that I didn't, in all of the lines of your resume, hone in on. So I always like to give the candidate a chance to tell me about what's important to them as part of that.
Amazing. Well, everyone, there you have it. Katy, executive coach, hiring expert. So thank you so much for joining us today, Katy.
Thank you, Jerry. It was wonderful to get to do people, actually.
Thank you. Well, see you next time. Thank you, everyone.
People Actually is a production of Employ Inc. The views and opinions expressed on this podcast are those of the individual speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of Employ or any affiliated or represented organizations.